Welcome to the channel if you haven't been here before. My name's Carl. Welcome back if you're a returning visitor. If you haven't subscribed, I'd ask you to please subscribe if you could. It is free and it will help the channel grow. Right, what we're doing now is we're on part 2 of the full build of the Airfix Focke Wulf Fw190 A8 in 1/72nd scale, and as you will see, this is not an easy build. Right, just to prove that I did get it together eventually, this is the fuselage with the cockpit installed. You'll see as we go through the video how much of a challenge just getting to this stage was. There is so much wrong with this kit when it comes to fit. There was a lot of warpage, there was a lot of basically stuff that didn't fit. The finish was terrible. But I did finally manage to get it together again, so we'll see what happened. Right, and this basically is where I started from where I left off. The cockpit was finished, all painted and everything, and I was looking forward to putting it together. I thought it'd slot together quite nicely. It did sort of like fit on the groove. There is a sort of locating point, but it's not brilliant. So what I did was I got it in place and I stuck a couple of drops of Tamiya extra thin in there just to try and hold it in place while I try and figure it out, or close the gaps at the wear. Here there's like a massive gap where the top's warped. It was in position like properly. The actual frame at the front, as you can see, it kept moving as well. Perhaps I should have put that in later, but I was doing a dry fit just to try and test to see if I could get it all together. This eventually did go together, but the back end here really was giving me trouble. So here what I'm doing is starting at the rear, because of the way it's completely sprung out at the front. I thought I'd start at the back and get the glue in. So I just dropped the Tamiya extra thin in, and I run it down the side of the cockpit as well, just to try and close that back in. And my hands are I'm pulling it towards me so I can see what I'm doing, because the fit is so bad. I've really got to look closely at it. I'm sort of getting frustrated with it now because it keeps springing open again. What I really need to do is get some of that Tamiya quick dry, just so it like bites quicker, because at the moment it's taking quite a while to bite into it. I put a bit of tape over there to hold it together, what I've already done, and then we start on the next section. So I'll close that together, let it dry, and then we have an open, see where we are. Still not 100%, and that tail end of the cockpit like sprung back down again, because it's quite thick actually, so it's really hard to get it up and get it level. Took a bit of doing that, but I did finally manage to get it sort of like to somewhere that I found acceptable. It wasn't perfect, but at least it's getting together now. And now we've got to start dealing with the front end, which was another nightmare. So we've got that wall in there, and because I was getting frustrated, I put so much glue on and it shot out through the exhaust areas. So now there was thumbprints there I had to deal with. I did get the top basically in bits. Again, because of the tension on it, I should have had some like Tamiya quick set, which would have probably held it quicker. So I was having to spend ages to hold it. And then the bottom, as you can see, doesn't really close up 100% because it's just poor at the bottom. It's rounded off rather than square. So again, but I'm just holding it in place, trying to keep it level. I'm still getting pretty frustrated at the moment with this, but I wanted to get it done. I really wanted to, because I really want to complete this model. I'm not going to let it beat me, even though it's only my 5th model. But yeah, it did start coming together bit by bit. Might just give a little bit of a sand there, just to get rid of, just to start on that fingerprint. I have to do a lot more work on it to get rid of it, but eventually I did. Now I'm just checking the fit again, make sure that the glue's, it hasn't shifted too much. And this is why I keep coming off camera, because I keep having to pull it towards me. Now we've got the two nose panels to put on. Actually, again, they went in easy enough, but the actual fit, there was like gaps everywhere. It's like, it is quite depressing. I did clean it up and then install them. This is the rear section that's got the two guns on it. Again, the guns disappeared, so I had to fabricate two new ones, which actually, lucky enough, I had a couple in the Tamiya kit. The F1 is a BF109. I had a couple of guns in there, so actually I've got the two guns that are there. I've got a little bit of texture on now, which is, I suppose it's a, yeah, that's back to front, mate. So I suppose it was a happy accident, but as you can see, it's like it's not easy to fit, and there's gaps, and so I'm just trimming it and getting it in, a little bit of sanding because of the sprue gates as well were being a problem, but that was down to me. Like, but as you can see, there's gaps that need filling, so I need to work on that. But eventually, I did sort of get it semi-lined up to where I wanted it to. And this is the front half goes on. Yeah, I was just figuring out then why I'd got it wrong. You know. So I'm just cleaning up the screw gates on the front panel here. This one actually, I'm surprised actually, this one just like slotted in perfectly. I was really happy with how this just dropped in. So just cleaned it up. And that's just screw gates going, the actual fit was okay, just dropped in. Little drop of Tamiya extra thin, and we're pretty much good to go. I mean, for this kit that was a good fit. You can still see some gaps there that are going to need dealing with, but and now we get this one on, and this, because the bodywork's springing a little bit, there was gaps there, but I knew I just had to get it together to make it a bit more rigid, and then I could deal with it later. But by now I'm sort of like getting pretty frustrated. You can see the gaps there, they're just, the fit is terrible. So basically that's the end of like putting the fuselage together. Right, now we're going to go start working on the wings. I'm taking off a few of the ancillary bits and pieces that need to be glued to the wings. There's a couple of like panels here that need to be trimmed and then attached to the wings. So basically I'm just dealing with the actual sprue gates here. So right, we get the lower wing surface, and I mean these go in fairly easy. You know, I just drop them in, add a couple of bits of Tamiya extra thin there, and that's basically job done. This is one of the parts that actually just worked. Right, we've got a couple of bits that go onto the upper wing surface. I had to drill the holes with a 0.8mm little drill bits. Again, they weren't much of a problem. One of the holes was slightly a little bit too small, so but it did go in. I just drop a Tamiya extra thin on the bottom, and that's them. Next, for some reason, the gun barrels. These would be the bane of my life for the rest of this session. On the outer ones, there's no really secure sort of like location point. It's more like you sort of fudge it to get it where it needs to go. And as you can see, it's just a real pain. It just doesn't. There's nowhere for it just to locate. So you really just got to fiddle about with it till it gets where it needs to go. Right, they're in, but they will become a problem. And also that big tube on the outer side of the wing. And as you can see, with the guns, they're also creating gap. The wings are actually bent, so they're taking a little bit more force than necessary just to close them up, almost like duck bills. Then we get to the next bit. We attach the fuselage, and you could drive a bus through the gaps at the wing roots. So they're going to have to be dealt with a little bit later. Right, now what I'm doing is removing the horizontal stabilisers and going to be attaching those. Got to clean up the edges, the sprue gates off the locating lugs. Give them a quick file down. It was a real actual pain to clean up around these wingtips. The actual sprue gates sort of curve right over the edge of them, so I think they could have found a better way of attaching these. And then I'm doing the same with the rudder. Sprue gate right on the tip of the rudder. I mean, it might look aggressive, but this was actually, I was actually using a really light touch. Right, now I'm trying to attach the horizontal stabilisers. There was a little bit of a fit issue, but nothing, a little bit of a sand down and a bit of force didn't stop. These actually didn't fit too bad. The rudder went on, not too bad. So these are all dry fitted at the moment. And when I was happy with the fit, I just added a little bit of Tamiya extra thin to close it all off. The video skills aren't brilliant at the moment because I was quite frustrated at the moment, and I was trying to get it in as close as I could so I could see what I was doing. I was so worried about the fit now that every little bit I'm trying to check over and over again. Right, here we have a huge issue as well. Once I get this little bit of rudder on, I keep checking the front, and the dihedral of the wings isn't the same on both wings because of the warpage. In my mind at the moment, I'm putting the rudder on, I'm thinking about getting it straight, but I keep having a look to make sure the horizontal stabilisers are straight, the rudder's like upright, and now I'm taping up the wings to try and get this dihedral right. I thought I'd do both of them, but it didn't do so well, so I did the actual one that was causing the trouble, and then added some Tamiya extra thing to hold it in place, and then left it overnight. Right, I left it overnight, and I checked it, and it's still off, and then I took the tape off, and the starboard wing was raised, and I just, no matter what I did, I tried over and over again to like bend it down a bit, and it still would not sort of level out. And so what I ended up doing was I scored down the ring root on the starboard wing with my craft knife again, just to open up that area. So I kept doing that until I got it nice and opened up again. So basically it was near enough like it was before you could drive a bus through the gap. It's ridiculous. And I come up with a novel solution because I didn't have any plastic card. I actually took the landing gear from the sprue that I wasn't going to be using, the raised landing gear, and I just jammed it into the gap, and it put it in the perfect position. So all I did was just saw it off with a little mini saw, and then smoothed it down with a file and a bit of sandpaper. And so you got a gap there, and there you can see where the piece of the undercarriage is. So all I've got to do now is just like go along and fill it in with some Vallejo putty. And I bought these silicone brushes. I thought, oh, these would be brilliant for spreading like, the putty around and that. Absolutely useless. And by now I was frustrated. That's why there was so much like Vallejo putty in there, like wing root at that time. But I cleaned it all up. All I did was just use like a cotton bud and a dab of water just to clean it all off, and it did go away. I mean, it just looked messier than it was at the beginning. But this model is really beginning to get to me. I'm still not going to let it beat me though. So I cleaned it all up, and now the wings are level, which is to me, a win-win. Right, what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put a couple of coats of primer over the top to see how much work needs to be done on it, you know, sanding wise, because I've been hacking this thing to pieces trying to get it to fit. As you can see, I've already put the canopy on, masked up, ready to go. I've also masked out the engine bay where the engine's going to fit later, and you'll see when I flip it over that I've also masked out the wheel wells for the landing gear. I'm using by Airfix black primer. I'm really thinking of swapping this over to Alclad, because this primer doesn't seem to adhere as tough as I'd want it to. You know, it tends to scratch a little bit too easy. Right, this is as far as we've got so far, and this is probably the end of this video, so because we've reached the stage where it's been primed. That said, it has been a lot of problems, and as you can see, I have lost some of the panel lines after spilling some bloody general purpose thinners on there when I was trying to get the Tamiya filler into the cracks on the wing roots, and even they're not perfect, but at least the wings are lined up. There's primer on it, ready for it to spray. I'm hoping that the weathering and the primer will help hide some of the stuff that I've managed to destroy. So actually, I'm surprised I managed to get to this stage. I also managed to get some other small bits and pieces ready to finish off painting and installation. We've got the wheels here for the undercarriage, and they need a little touch up as well, just to make them better. We also have the spinner and the propeller. The actual markings on the spinner I hand painted rather than use the decal. There we have the undercarriage doors. They need obviously painting up. The drop tank, that's all ready to paint up. And here we have the tail wheel, some struts for the landing gear, the actual step for climbing at the aircraft, the big legs of the landing gear, and also the cradle there for the drop tank. So everything's basically ready to start the final painting and assembly part of the session. Right then, as you can see, all the bits and pieces are now all there sitting and waiting for the next session. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on, and I think I am going to go black base in it. So I'll start painting the aircraft. This is all for the next video. All the bits and pieces are ready to go on, and it should be the final video, the next one, hopefully. But I think I've got most of the troublesome stuff out of the way now. I'm surprised I've got this far, actually, to tell you the truth. Anyway, if you've actually enjoyed watching the video, don't forget to leave any comments, especially suggestions about the next model, and maybe even which model you want me to sort of like work on next. Also, don't forget to like the video because it helps with the algorithm on YouTube. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing, because it'll help the channel grow and we can make more and more videos as I move through my journey as a scale modeler. I'll see you guys later.